And so he rushed home. What had happened was Bill had actually gotten involved and actually had a couple videos that were downloaded on his computer that were actually child pornography. Never thought in his life that he would be there. Not at all. He just never thought he would be there. They arrested him. He ended up getting 5 years in federal prison for what he had done. Lost his wife, lost his children, lost his job, lost everything that he had. And Craig actually took him to the jail that he was going to be at, and his friend was driving him, and he asked his friend, he says, "Did you ever think, did you know he was doing this?" And he says, "Craig," he says, "I'll tell you what," he's like, "I've been thinking about that now for about the last 3 to 4 months." He says, "I wish I would have just said something. I wish I just would have had that hard conversation. Because now my friend is going to jail for 5 years, and had I at least said something, there's a possibility that he might not have gone that far." So that was something that I looked at. I had not looked at child pornography, but I could see that progression. I could see that big snowball rolling downhill. So from that event, I went home and I told Darce, I told her I had a problem with pornography. I told her that I was struggling, and I started to tell her everything. She knew about the stuff that I had in my bedroom drawer, but she did not know about the stuff that I was doing at work. She did not know the hours I had spent there. We can go ahead and you can tell the story from there.
He actually missed a part. He came home and walked in and had the kids go downstairs and put his arm around me. And I looked into his eyes, and what I saw was a completely different Brian. Before, he had been angry. His eyes had been black. And I looked at him, and his black eyes had gone back to the beautiful brown that they are. And I could see that a weight, something had changed in him. I didn't know what. I was afraid to speak. It was kind of like just a quiet moment to sit there. He held me. He went into the bedroom where his stuff was. And it was February?
December.
December
2nd.
December 2nd. And it was sort of cold out yet. It wasn't completely winter, and he started a fire. And I kind of thought, okay, well, I didn't ask you to start a fire, but, we'll just kind of go with this. And he took all of his stuff and threw it in the fire. Every last bit of it, his DVDs, his magazines, everything. And I just remember sitting there looking into the flames thinking, this is good. This is what I needed in my life, because we had been going through hard times, and he was always looking over his shoulder. He was angry. And that's not any way to live. It's not a relationship. It's not a marriage. But I had made a pact before God and my family that this was my husband, better for worse. I was there to love him. So seeing everything go up in flames, it was an amazing feeling, one that I will never forget. And then, like he said, he came out and told me everything. And we just sat there together for the longest time, neither one of us saying anything. And it was very peaceful. I mean, even though that was a huge statement, it was huge words coming out of his mouth, it was just peaceful.
She makes it sound so pretty. And I love her for that. The thing is we did have those conversations, but we also had some very difficult conversations. She was angry at me. She was upset. So we had some stuff that we had to work through. So we did that. The thing is, now we realize that we really should have really seek counseling. We should have actually talked to somebody who could help us to deal through some of the the hurt and the damage that was caused, not only for myself to get through it, but also Darce. I mean, Darcy, she was hurt by this too, and she had things that she had to work through as well. Unfortunately, we had to work through a lot of that ourselves. We did have the support of XXX Church, though, at the time. Come lo and behold, one of the pastors actually lived right around the corner from us that we didn't know about, and a friend of ours who was a counselor actually was helping them out at the time. So they did work with us. And so at that point, where do you go? What do you do next? So for me, it was just to get accountability, to talk to people, and to bring somebody into my life or bring people into my life who are going to hold me accountable. Because if you just sit there and you walk out of here, and if any of you guys are dealing with this, or any of you girls are dealing with this, you'll walk out of here and be like, yeah, I need to take care of this. But as soon as you walk through those doors, it all goes away. Because you've made it easier. You've made your escape out of it. So I encourage anybody who's here who is dealing with this, don't walk out those doors if you're having an issue. I've heard amazing things about your community here. I've heard amazing things about how you guys get along, and it encourages me to hear that. So I just beg you, if you are dealing with this, grab somebody before you leave. If you want to talk to us, feel free to talk to us too. We don't mind. But talk to somebody and get that accountability started. So I asked one of the pastors in Triple X Church to be my accountability partner. I asked the counselor, and I asked my wife, Darcy, to be an accountability partner. And what I had done was, Triple X Church has a software that, it's called X3 Watch, and I'll talk more about that later. But I put that on my computer, and I selected 3 people to be my accountability partner. So they got a report every week if I, was looking at anything that was inappropriate. And it's not a catch you, aha moment. It's more of just a conversation piece to get things started. So I did that. I took care of things at work. I rearranged my computer and made sure that it was in the open, and I was just honest with people about it. And that was the biggest thing for me. I remember 3 months later, I was asked by Triple X Church to go to another Porn and Pancakes, which was being held out at Daybreak in Hudsonville. And they said, would you be interested in sharing your testimony, sharing your story? And I said, sure, because I always felt alone. And that's one of the things with this is you feel like you're the only one, but you're not. I mean, there's so many other people out there who are dealing with this and struggling with it. But that's the thing that Satan grabs onto. He makes you feel like you're alone. He makes you feel that, like you're ashamed. He makes you feel ashamed and makes you feel horrible and terrible about yourself. So you don't want to tell anybody. So I said, sure, I'm going to share my story. And I was really excited because some things had really changed my life. Like Darce said, I'd lost my temper. For the most part, that's something that I've always struggled with, but we've worked on it through the years. And so I finally went to Darce and I said, okay, I'm going to share my testimony. Give me something that I can share. Give me something that makes me look really, really good. And my head got really, really big, and I got really excited waiting for what she was going to respond to me with. And this is what she told me next.
I told him I wasn't scared of him anymore. I would either go to bed way before he did, pretend like I was sleeping, stay out in the living room, do anything I could not to be in the bedroom with him, to let him see me change my clothes, because I had always felt pressure. If he ever saw me without clothes on, I felt, okay, that's going to lead to sex, and I don't want to. So for me, and when I told him that, he's like, what? Like, I was scared of you. He's like, okay. Kind of like, now I don't know how to deal with that. That's not what he was expecting to hear. Like you said, he wanted...
My head shrunk really fast. So, yes, there goes all my steam. But yeah, so when she told me that, it just freaked me out. I couldn't imagine the fact that I put my wife through that type of torture. I basically had taken this wonderful marriage, or what I thought was a wonderful marriage, and just totally pulled the rug out from underneath her, and she was living a nightmare. Like we said, sex is supposed to be, God created sex as something that's supposed to be so powerful and so good in a marriage, and I totally had ruined that for Darcy. Thing was, with all that pornography, I was bringing all these other women into bed with me, basically, in my head and in my fantasies. I know it's harsh. But Darcy, I told Darcy, we were talking about it. We became really open about our lives. And she had asked, we were talking about sex and, what was it like for me to come, into our bedroom. And I said, we were talking about, was I really there? Was I really with her? And unfortunately, at that point, fortunately, it had been 10 years of marriage. But unfortunately, I told her that within my 2 hands, I could tell her how many times I actually truly made love to her the way that God intended me to. And 2 of those are walking around or sleeping at my house right now. But that's where porn had taken me. Made everything a complete fantasy, made everything completely false, made me think